Javasky Garland, and I'm going to ask you just a brief question about the law enforcement and about the youth, about youth court.
About youth court?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
May you please say your name and spell it, please?
Darnell Fisher, Darnell Fisher.
What is your job title?
Sergeant in the Northern Police Department.
What motivates you to become a police officer?
It kind of fell upon me. And after I got into the industry of security law enforcement, I enjoyed working with people and it's problem solving. It's a lot of problem solving taking place in the police department that people don't see on a daily basis.
What is your role in keeping the community safe?
Well, I think my role in keeping the community safe is being the best person that I can be when I come in contact with the community. And with that said, what does that mean? Well, that means being the best person that I can be in every instant or incident that I come upon, which means being in control of oneself at all times.
How do you partner with the community members to keep the community safe?
Well, I try to make sure I'm befriending as many people as I possibly can. I try to make sure I'm meeting the people in the community, talking with them during times when times are good, not always just seeing them when times are bad. Letting them know that if we meet in a situation where I have to be a police officer, I'm going to be a police officer. But when we meet and we can just have a regular civil conversation based upon who we are as individuals, then that's what I want to do.
How do you feel African American young men are perceived?
I feel African American young men are perceived unfairly. Most African American young men are perceived based upon what people see on television, and that's not always the case.
How do you feel about having SROs in the school?
I think it's needed. I think it's a good thing. As long as they're trained and have the type of people skills and patience that it takes to deal with you young people. Y'all can be a handful, but at the same time, you do have to have some type of security and control in the high schools nowadays. It's not like it used to be. So not only to deal with the students, but to deal with the predators around the students.
What alternatives to incarceration do you recommend for youth and why?
Alternatives for incarceration. Well, I think it begins early. It begins early after mom gives birth. That's key. You know, you have to teach children where you want them to go, what you want them to be. You have to have expectations. You have to set the expectations high so they'll have a goal to shoot for. When kids like you and younger, especially when they're just beginning life, the one thing they definitely want to do is please their parents. So to deter them from incarceration starts early. It starts with patience, and everything has to come from a position of love. Then you have to have some alternatives in terms of additional schooling, jobs, and things of that nature. And we can go on and on and on about what it would take to deter from incarceration. With all that said, it has to come even from a higher place in terms of the federal government. You know, the federal government play a role in deterring incarceration in young black men or young people, period. And they need to step their game up as well.
What do you think is the single most important policy or solution to improve interaction between students and law enforcement?
communication. Law enforcement and students need to learn how to communicate better. You got a lot of law enforcement officers who tend to feel, because they have on a uniform, that what they say is right, and that's not always the case. But the only thing that can really help that situation is communication, and everybody has to be willing to listen to one another. You have, as a young man, if you have a situation or a problem, I need to be able to listen to your situation and your problem and hear it fully before I even open my mouth to say what I'm going to say, and not be so ready to put handcuffs on you or assume that you've done something wrong. We need to be able to hear each other out. So I would say communication is key.
How do you see school discipline policies impacting students?
Well, I don't work in the school system. I think they're doing the best they can with the information that they have. How the policies are impacting the students, I really couldn't speak on that because I've never been a school resource officer. But to answer your question, I would have to say that there's probably room for improvement.
In your role as a police officer, what exactly are you protecting?
I'm protecting life, liberty, health, and freedom. You know, everybody has the right to life. Everybody has the right to freedom. Everybody has the right to be who they are. And of course, material things, we protect those things too. Cars, boats, houses. So there's actually there's a plethora of things that we protect, but I think the main thing that we protect is life.
As a peace officer, what is your responsibility in protecting young people?
Ask me that question one more time. As a police officer,
what is your responsibility in protecting young people?
My responsibility in protecting young people is pretty much everything that I just said. And young people are first, most important in that aspect because you guys are the future. And when addressing the youth of today, it is important that, again, we communicate and that we listen and we understand where you're coming from and not be so quick to incarcerate. So I think it is very important for us to protect you in all aspects, even if it has to be protecting you from your own people.
What is your opinion about the use of corporal punishment at school?
I think that is corporal punishment is probably needed in some cases. I think that's something that would have to be agreed upon between the school and the parents. That's been a very controversial subject for a long time, but some type of disciplinary actions have to be taken. You have to be able to suffer the consequences of your own actions, whether it be corporal punishment or not. It's not for me to say. That's something that has to be definitely taught to and about between the school system and the parents.
What do the students need to be protected from?
What do the students need to be protected from? Oh boy. A lot of students need to be protected from their own selves, because some of them are their own worst enemies. They need to be protected from the negative environment around the school. You have a lot of people that don't necessarily have the best interests of students in mind when they're lurking around the school. So it's a whole lot of things that students need to be protected from. So I guess it would be, we have to take it on a case-by-case basis.
What aspect of Mississippi's history do you think all young people should know about?
Mississippi's history. The aspect of Mississippi's history all young people need to know about is the history, one of slavery and prejudice. All the students need to know about that. You need to know where we come from as a people.
How do your own personal experience in the Delta shape how you engage young men of color?
Give me that question one more time.
How do your own personal experience in the Delta shape how you engage young men and boys of color?
Well, my experience in the Delta shapes how I interact with the youth by first compassion, because most youth in the Delta are faced with obstacles that a lot of youth around the globe aren't faced with. So I would have to say first compassion, and then respect. Everybody deserves respect. And once we can get those two things mobilized, I think the door will open up for everything else.
What do you want the world to know about African American young men in the Delta?
That they have the ability to do and be all that anybody else has the ability to do and be.
What advice do you have for African American young men?
Advice. Learn how to start and operate your own business. Learn how to create jobs for your own people. Learn how to create jobs for yourself. Learn to become self-sufficient. There's nothing wrong with going to work for somebody else, but you should always have in the back of your mind that you're going to eventually do this or something else for yourself. Because people aren't standing by waiting to give you a job. People aren't standing by waiting to give you anything. So it's best for you to learn how it's done and what it takes to get done.
What gives you hope?
What gives me hope? What gives me hope is people like you asking me these types of questions. Young black men trying to do the right thing, trying to face the obstacles that are plaguing them on a daily basis that actually holds you back in some instances, whether it be outside or inside. And then the other thing that gives me hope is my spiritual connection. Spiritually speaking, I would have to say that I believe that there's a better place for all of us. There's a better thing coming for all of us. We just gotta have to be patient. It may not be even be in my lifetime, but I think better things are coming for us as a people.
Is there anything you would like to add?
Well, I'd just like to reiterate to you and your counterparts to remember that as you're going through this journey of your own life, remember that nobody has anything set aside for you. If you want it, you gotta go get it. If you don't know how to get it, we're living in the information age. The information is there for you to learn how to get it. Once people see that motivation and that drive, you'd be surprised how many people will come out of the woodwork to try and help you reach your goal. So I would say that the most important thing is to keep pressing forward. Don't, as they say, you can't move forward if you're always looking in the rearview mirror. Okay? So you're gonna have some bumps in the road. You're gonna have some obstacles that you have to get over. It may even be within your own family, but you cannot let any of that stop you from where you're trying to go. And you are your brother's keeper. What you do will reflect him, and what he does will reflect you. So you guys have to be sincere, and you have to make a sincere effort to make a change in this world, because behind you will come your son or daughter. And behind them will come another generation of us. And if we all take the responsibility for I am my brother and my sister's keeper, we can go some places.